Welcome back to the Pregnancy Help Podcast powered by Heartbeat International. This is your Marketing Minute, a monthly episode focused on practical marketing strategies for pregnancy help organizations. I'm Delaney, the manager of Extend Web Services, and with me today is Monet, Extend's web specialist. AI is becoming a bigger part of marketing conversations every day. But for a lot of pregnancy help organizations, it can still feel overwhelming, confusing, or honestly just noisy. So today we want to focus less on flashy AI trends and more on building a strong foundation for using AI well. This episode is really about helping you think strategically before you start depending on AI tools. We'll talk about governance and policies, how to avoid generic AI slop, how to ask better questions through scaffolding, how AI can help you evaluate your website and messaging from a client perspective, and how to use AI to better understand your statistics and recognize patterns in your marketing. Our hope is that you leave today with a few practical things you can actually try this week, while also building a foundation for some deeper AI conversations we'll be having in future episodes. So, we're going to jump into minute one. Monet, how are you feeling about this new format?
I'm excited. I just think it's great. I think it's hilarious that we're starting with AI. Like one of the biggest things as far as taking a big concept that seems like maybe scary or not, but then trying to break it down. But I think that's like the best challenge. It's going to be wonderful. So, yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
Fantastic. Okay, Monet, you're going to give us like a snapshot of governance and policies.
So basically, I think it's really helpful to start with kind of the goal. When I think instead of hearing governance and policy, it's honestly just a helpful way of to-dos and like what to do, what to not do. And it'll be really helpful. It's a wonderful starting spot because I'm not sure about you guys, but for me, there's a huge kind of a paralysis that takes over when I don't know the parameters. I don't know. I don't want to do something wrong. I don't want to give data where I'm not supposed to. You want to, I'm a rule keeper, right? So you want to follow the rules. But honestly, if you heard anything kind of in the chatter about AI, it's that everyone is kind of figuring it out all by themselves, all at once. So when we talk about governance and security, I think it's helpful to know that one, it's best when it comes from the top. But really, if you could just, instead of it not daunting, even a page of how we're going to use it, how we're not going to use it, what to not put in there, and how you guys want to document your successes or your failures. We've actually created a little template as well that we can share with you guys that just helps you realize, okay, that first step forward, I feel confident because I know what to do and what not to do.
So one of the things I've noticed, and I mean, there's just so many different things always happening at PHOs at any given day. Everybody's wearing multiple hats. One of the things I've noticed is that sometimes there aren't firm like policies in place for certain things. Or like if somebody just a simple one that we've run into time and again is when somebody is leaving an organization, there's not like a check like an offboarding checklist of like, okay, these are all the things that this person's personal or work email might be attached to. Let's make sure we transfer everything over. So I love that you wanted to start the conversation today with governance and policies because I think it's important. Like if you're going to be doing things with AI, you need to have governance and policies. We talk about this with things like just even your brand, like knowing this is who we are, this is our mission, this is how we're portraying ourselves, this is how we treat people, this is like how our stuff looks when it goes out. So we talk about how important it is at every level. And what I'd like to know is like how should someone go about having this conversation of like what does AI governance and policies look like? What are the initial things they maybe need to do?
Yeah, I think it's really great that you're touching on how you guys have, centers or PHOs or anyone has gone about policy in the past. One, I think that's a great place to start. I think once we kind of kill, yes, AI is extremely powerful and
Hmm.
maybe different in that kind of scope. But I think that if you guys kind of work from that place of one, how did we work out policies before? Did it work well? Did
Hmm.
wish that we had, brought more? I mean, I'm always very pro people who are going to be working on it, making sure that you're listening to them. That doesn't mean that I always think that policy should come from the top. We're looking up to our leaders and we're going, okay, what should we do? But I think making sure that we're listening, we're realizing the capabilities of our team, that we're realizing where we're going. So honestly, let's just say this. I think a great place is to start is looking at who you are. So are you your mission and vision, your key principles, your brand policy, things that make you who you are, but then also pulling in where you're going and realizing, okay, how can we make sure that this tool never gets a grip on us and leads us? That's the whole point of the policy. So if we can kind of lead with that and go, okay, we want to stay in this little ship, but we're going fast. Let's make sure we know who's on board and
Mhm.
how we want to go about that and whose responsibilities are what. That's
Yeah.
kind of how I think I would walk into that for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think it's also important for people to consider how using AI underneath the organization's name is different than how they might use AI in their personal life. So I've got friends who are using AI for all kinds of things. And that's not like giving AI so much information. And that's not how I would suggest going about it from an organization. So I would definitely go in line with what you're suggesting. Yes, how have you done policies in the past? What's going to serve you best? But making it clear like this is how our pregnancy center, our maternity home, our organization is going to use AI. We're going to put this type of information in it. We're not going to put this type. So maybe like whenever I'm messing around with AI, you know this, no name, but I always change the names of like, unfortunately, it definitely knows who I am, but like when I'm using ChatGPT or something just for some simple items, it thinks your name is Monty, like change it. So that's just something that for me, I just don't put anybody's like real name in there. I'm honestly not typically putting in images of people. Um, but I and definitely am not putting any kind of personal, like I'm not putting addresses in there. I'm not putting anybody's like identifiers that like personal information. Like if I was still in the position of director of advancement, I would not just be dropping down donors' informations like about their name and their email address and their addresses and stuff. Like I wouldn't just like drop an Excel sheet in it. So I think it's really important to know like what information you're going to include and what you're not.
Yeah, and I know we'll transition it, but it's really helpful to realize I think that what it's not. So what a policy is not, it's not a list of your principles. It's
Mhm.
not a list of your values because everyone is so different. There's going to be people who are more, maybe more liberal in using it. Like you're talking about your friends, asking you for dating advice and telling them all your, information. Or there's going to be people who are just, I felt like I was in this place of overcautious, and then I was hindering the abilities that I could have been
Yeah.
using. And so it's a policy for a reason because it's coming from the top and it's just clear cut. So we're not going to give too much, but we're also not going to hinder growth as well. And I think, yeah, principle is it's not a principle, it's a policy.
Yeah.
And I think everyone is eager for that. I feel that all the time. You want to just give me the rules so then I can drive.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I think you summarized it perfectly. Okay, now's the time, and it's my time for minute 2 where we talk about AI slop. So, one of the things that has been increasing over the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 years is AI slop, and that is generated content by AI that is possibly low quality. It is typically has some type of errors or like weird things, and it is true. AI is getting significantly better at doing things like generating human images and everything. However, there's still sometimes some oddball things. AI slot for an organization would be content you just generated because you thought it was like cute or interesting or fun because you suddenly had the capability to do it, but it's not in line with your brand. It doesn't look like something you have produced. Um, and it is maybe a little
Is it
different than the things that you've done in the past. And the reason this is important to stay away from AI slop is because as an organization, you cannot put a price tag on trust and credibility. Not everybody, but some people are very good at identifying AI slop and or just AI images that they don't necessarily like. And that really can diminish the trust and credibility that somebody has in your organization, whether as from a client perspective or donor perspective.
I think what you're saying reminds me of back, I don't know what year it was, but remember when Alexa came out with Amazon, like the little boxes, and then
Yeah.
everyone, I feel like within that year was like, oh, I just named my daughter Alexa, or like there was just like this like tiredness around Alexa because it was Alexa this, and then I feel like we are now in that rest in peace to the long dash, because if everyone kind of sees that sometimes too, and it's sad
Oh
because
gosh.
I love the long dash. There's people who used it before. It does not mean that it's AI, but now there is like it's the user experience now. We see that long dash and we think, okay, this is built by AI. And I think that giving your readers, giving your audience, everyone more credibility, honestly, or more like viewing, yeah, credibility where they can see it. You may think that they can't
Yeah.
see it, but they can see it. We forget how, talented and that we personally are and what we have to say. And we're just doing ourselves a disservice if we're putting out things like that. So what would you say, Delaney?
Mhm.
Where is some like basic application for where you maybe see it most, and how can people kind of go about that? They're short on time, but they don't want to produce slop.
Mhm.
What do you think?
The places I've seen it a lot is social media posts. So you don't have a ton of time in your hands, but you want to connect with people, you want to put out content. And so maybe you go to ChatGPT and you say, "Hey chat, this is the information about this event I have coming up. Please generate a content that has this stuff." And maybe you throw in a picture of yourself so that makes you look like some kind of Pixar version of yourself. And there's a lot of things in this image. Maybe it's stuff like, and maybe it's for a diaper drive. And so you have all these like baby item imagery. Um, and it just like it doesn't look on brand. It it looks a little fake. Um, and there's something about it that's still a little unsettling. Whereas if you had used something like go to Canva, and Canva has all kinds of AI features to make like design easy and accessible. I would go there instead and use their AI features to try and develop something. I would also, regardless of where I'm going, I would look at like what have we generated in the past and kind of keep it in line with that look. Sure, you can make it look a little bit more polished, but so it looks like your organization.
I, it's sad too. Like maybe it's just so important. What I'm happy you talked about social media because that's where everyone's craving. That's your place for authenticity.
Mm,
So the idea that that's kind of where we are gravitating to, and the second piece I'm thinking as well is honestly, we may also show our age. We do that with websites all the time. We're thinking, okay, see this through the eyes of your audience, not through
okay.
what you would produce. And sometimes we kind of give little tells because there's certain demographics and age that would like to produce different things, and maybe that's
Oh
where we
yeah.
meet this. So yeah, oh, that's great with Canva too, because I think
Yeah.
a lot of people are kind of have adopted that.
I just want to clarify we are not opposed to using AI. Obviously, I just told you that I use ChatGPT, and we'll get into some of the things that we think this like how it could be effective for you. But when I'm talking about AI slop, that's really just us saying like if you're going to use AI, make sure you're using it responsibly and effectively. That it's something that is boosting up what you guys are already doing well at your organizations versus being a detriment in any way to like the trust or credibility you have to the good things that you are doing. And the funny thing is even if something looked really good, sometimes if somebody thinks, oh, it's AI, it loses value. So it's really just stay away from AI slot. But yes, we are definitely for you using it effectively, which is actually what Monet is about to get into because minute 3 here is all about well, we call it scaffolding. I don't know if that's how Monet is going to say it, but how to ask AI, like what prompts, like a good prompt you could give AI to get a good result.
So whether you're going to um, ChatGPT and you're on desktop, so these are kind of those basic fronts, or like for me, I use Claude, um, and going in there and you type it away. One, it's fantastic. Now we can use natural language, and so that has been a huge barrier we've been able to overcome. But realizing this, it's not just about asking questions; it's about actually preparing the question. It's being the most clear in your questionings. And so we're going to use the word prompt. Let's break it down to I have five things. And it's
Okay.
a checklist. Again, we're going to have some material that you guys can use, and I want you to try it out. I want you to fail, have fun, whatever, no
I
data,
also want
don't
you to
enter data.
succeed.
I want you to succeed, but I want you to have fun with it. It's so
Yeah.
fun. It's amazing. You can feel when you're in the right parameters. You just It's amazing. It's amazing what you can kind of help it even with your brainstorming. So one, a
Hmm.
prompt, your question, but it's a prompt. When you're prompting, when you want to build it this way, you want to make sure that in every prompt you're going to define the role. So who is AI pretending to be in this prompt?
Hmm.
Okay. Next, you're going to have the reader. Who is the other person? Who is going to be reading this, whatever is produced? Who is the
Hmm.
audience? You're going to define that in there. You're going to tell Claude or whatever this LLM is, you're going to let them know. Next, you're going to have a required input. So, what is it going to give you? What are you going to give it? So, I'm going to tell you this list of different possible sites for my banquet, and I want you to tell me which one is the best based on. So we're giving that context. So you're giving I'm going to give you this, you're going to give me that. This is the transaction. Then you're going to put constraints. This one's my favorite because I think that it really is like a powerhouse when you're using AI, is tell it what you do not want, and which is fun. So you can be very opinionated in this time. But put out what you don't want it to do. And then finally, that fifth one is the definition of done.
Hmm.
You get your, it's terrible, but like to your AI chat, right? You're saying you will get a cookie when you do this. When you've completed this, this is what happens, and then you'll get a treat. Obviously, you can try. I don't know what will happen if you talk that way, but these perfect. So role, reader, required inputs, constraints, and definition of done. And we'll have some stuff for you to challenge yourself and and your team to be able to practice those prompts. And you're going to see the difference of
Hmm.
how fast you're going to get better results, and you're not going to throw it right in the trash when it's done.
I don't know if you have an example, Monet, or if we should launch into minute four, which would basically be me attempting to do what you just said, like through the eyes of like a potential client.
No, absolutely. I have an example here.
Hey,
And
yeah,
so
please. Yeah.
I think that's just because I know we're trying to, I don't know how far we want to dive in. I don't want to give too much, but I think a great example of this, and we'll post this as well, but is kind of like a donor newsletter. So
Hmm.
you're going to use it usually however much time. It'd be amazing to find out how much time it usually takes you, and then you could time yourself. But donor newsletter, you're going to go in there and you're going to create this prompt, and
Hmm.
you're going to make sure that first off, tier one, no client data, no donor data. Don't even think about it. Nothing. This is all generic, but you're going to
Okay.
describe, okay, I am the uh, director of advancement, and I am going to be writing a mass email letter to our donors to tell them about our upcoming banquet. So we've covered who the role is, who the reader is, required inputs. Please make sure to list the date
Hmm.
and the location and you're putting this in there as far as like
Yeah.
we're going to use this place and this time, and it's going to cost this much money to be able
Hmm.
to take a seat. And please make sure to reach out to so and so. So you're putting in that context there. Then you're putting in the constraints. Please make sure not to name a single donor in this because we're going to use it as a template for our email chain. Also, make sure not to date the banquet for the year because we're also going to use this year after year, and we don't want it to be misconstrued. As well as do not use basic formatting. Make sure you only use our brand colors. And then the definition, this will be completed as done when it is you have completed it, you've double checked your work. Please no long dashes, and that it is in a Word doc file that is a certain size file. Boom, that's the definition done. You put that prompt in, and you're going to see within 10 to 20 seconds, it's going to
Hmm.
live time produce this for you. Now, you're not done at this point. This point, now the real expert comes in, which is you. And we get to come in. There should always be a human at the front and a human at the end, really tearing it apart. And you feel free. This is what called like the word iterate is if it comes out and it's totally missed the mark, say, okay, hey, you missed the mark a little bit, and you go back through your scaffold and you tighten it and you tighten it and you tighten it. At the very end, you never just send it out. You have go through the normal process as if someone in your team had produced it as well.
Yeah. Nope. I think that's great, Monet. I think it's doing all those things you mentioned, providing some past examples of letters that you've used, the way you typically communicate with donors, what your brand is, all those things as you're tightening it up. will get you closer to the results you want. And then it also doesn't really feel like it doesn't feel nearly as much as like AI generated content, especially since you may be making some changes to the script that or whatever it's giving you as you go back and forth. So, Monet, what I would like to do now is for minute 4, because one of the things you can use, one of the things that you can use AI for is to look at your organization from an outside perspective. Obviously, it's going to be different because it's AI looking at your website, your social media platforms. It's not a human, but it is interesting the perspectives that AI can give you about how you're presenting yourself. So, what I'd like to do for minute 4 is to just kind of break down what it would look like to prompt um, for trying to reach that, say, 18 to 32-year-old or specific age. I'm going to run through it and then you add in anything that you think, okay, well, yes, but also this, or actually don't do that. Do this instead. You ready?
Yes, I'm so ready.
Okay. So if I was putting this in ChatGPT or Claude or some other AI platform, I would start with like who. So I say I'm trying to reach this 18-year-old woman who may be in need of our services. These are the different external facing sites and platforms we have. So social media, websites, anything else you can think of that they might be able to find you on. And then say that like I want to know so chat, you are this 18-year-old woman, how are you feeling about our website? Are you able to get the information that you need from us? Do you feel safe? Like how does the website and social media make you feel? How do you feel about us before you've ever interacted with us? Um, Give me a glimpse into the headspace. And also, this would be really cool as somebody navigating those different platforms, like what are your initial thoughts as you're looking at these things? And then also provide me with a list of um, recommended changes. And then this one's just like added, like you don't need to do this, but it could be fun. Is if you have some other pregnancy centers or maternity homes in your area or just ones that you like really like, also ask it to compare it to that center or that maternity home where it's like, okay, like you've said these things about us. How do we compare to this one? Like maybe you consider one to be like a model. I know some centers and some homes sometimes have like parent organizations. So like how do you compare to that? So, Monet, what would you add to that? Anything you would change?
No, as I think as long as at the very end you say, and I want this produced like the definition of done, just whatever, however you would like that result to come through to you and how you want them to answer you, whether it's in document or you just want them to list it right there on the chat. But no, I think that's fantastic. It's definitely a different perspective and it's so useful. It just speaks to the versatility of this tool. So I'm
Yeah.
happy you touched on it for sure.
You know what? I would also add, like, obviously it's gonna know the city you're in, but I would emphasize, like, I am wanting the perspective of somebody who's in this age range in this city. You can always provide, you can tell it to like log into like census data, like log into whatever it is they would need to on, on the internet to get the information.
Yeah, absolutely. And know this too, and this is just part of that safety piece, and that when you're going to policy, just as a frame of mind, there's a lot more to
Mhm.
it that you have to check for. But if you have to log in, it's yours and it's private. So if you
Yes.
have to log into that, that is, and that counts for your social media as well. So just thinking about social media, your LinkedIn, anything that you log into is naturally private. It does not have access to unless you grant it, and it could feel very easy to go ahead and do that. So just keep that in mind. But understand this: if you log in, it's yours.
Yeah,
Uh,
and we will have a conversation in the future about data. The type that we're talking about right now, though, is that it can external facing Facebook, like it can't see on the inside, but like if I was just like, "Hey, pull up so and so's Facebook," it could do that. We
yes.
don't want it to get I don't want anybody to get confused about like if you have the example of like the potential client looking at your stuff.
No, fantastic. That's why your website is wonderful. That's how AI was built. It was on all the things that have lived on the internet all these years that we said that never will go away. That's now
It's true.
literally now it's AI.
If you have like next level for like client data management, all that information, it can't see that. It's behind that username and password. So it can't see all the data you have there. Anything that you have made public, it it can see, and that's something to keep in mind, but we will dive into that deeper in the future just because we wanna make sure that while we are encouraging you to use AI, we're also giving you some really good parameters. So, one of the things that I really enjoy about AI, we got into this a little bit with the outside perspective, like how does a potential client view your website and stuff? What are they getting from you? What I really like is just like how it can give you different perspectives, how it can maybe highlight some things that you haven't noticed. Like I love that you could use AI to um, pick up on certain patterns or trends that you are experiencing in your marketing. It could be something as simple as I know something Monet you've talked a lot about is how long is it taking you to do certain tasks? And how long could it take you to like could you cut down on that time by using AI, but also just to kind of figure out like where is your time being spent? Another thing that I really like is okay, what does it look like to look at the fundraising efforts we've done and um how do we grow? How do we grow beyond where we currently are? One of our other concerns is just using AI very responsibly and making sure that the data that everybody has for their organization, that they're being good stewards of it. So we are going to have another conversation, hopefully next month, focused on AI, your data, how to get the most out of AI while still being responsible with your data. So like really dive into data and how to properly protect it. Yeah. So Monet, within that parameter, what would it look like if I had a walk for life and say, we raised $45,000. We had like, I don't know, 120 participants. Some of those participants were staff. I want to know like this is what we basically how can I figure out using AI um how well we did and maybe things that we could do better the next time it's time to plan for the walk for life. What would that prompt look like? What would that whole thing be?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really helpful too, and hopefully gives context or at least a little parameter to what Delaney's kind of talking about with data. I think it's really helpful to realize that when you're walking into this, like defining the room, is that
Hmm.
in this case scenario, you are not using AI or the AI agent. You're not using them as a data analyst. They're not. This is not a part of what we're talking about, but you are going to use them as a brainstorming and so to kind of help produce those thoughts and things that you can do. So I think I would start in stage one is asking and helping it brainstorm with me. And then
Hmm.
I would then have it carry over where then you and your colleagues get to do the work of actually looking at the data and going, okay, does this, following up and realizing, okay, well, let's look at these trends. Let's look at our dashboards of, if you had next level and saying, okay, well, this is where we succeeded here. And that's separate. So for just this section, when we're using AI as this amazing brainstorming partner, I would begin the prompts with one. So let's define it. So it's just there. So, hey, I'm going to use you as I need your help as my brainstorming partner, and we're going to define ourselves. I am the director of advancement. I work at a pregnancy resource center, and we just held our annual walk. We raised $45,000, and we had 45 participants. Five of those participants were staff, um, and maybe even 10%, 10 of those were volunteers. Okay, we're setting that context of this is what we're talking about. And this event was held in July. um, and the weather was, it was rainy, and so we didn't get as many turnout as we would have thought. So building out that even just like that deep context, where I need your help is looking and at the forecasted trends found online for nonprofit Christian organizations who run similar and even similar. We could even really get deeper with that. So, who also hold walks for life or have other sorts of um, fundraisers. Can you help me produce some ideas that are and provide the sources that you use to give ideas on how I can make it better next year? this task will be complete when you provide it within a simple Word document format. I'm okay with having to paste it from within the chat itself. Once you get me those numbers, we'll say that's complete.
I would probably be like, we held like if you held a Walk for Life launch meeting or something a couple months earlier, if you had like team leaders, if you sent out a mailing at a certain time, just to kind of give it a little bit more information. Because if you're asking it how you can
Yes.
do better, then it just needs to know kind of what do you already have in place. So it's not wasting your time with like, oh, well, you shouldn't do this. Well, I'm already doing this. So you don't need to get like into the details of like specifics, numbers, names, any of that. But you can say like, 6 weeks out we were doing this, 12 weeks out we were doing this, 18 weeks out we were doing this. Because I know for a lot of these events it happens, these work starts like 3, 6, sometimes 8 months prior.
Absolutely. The more context you can give is the stronger the prompt. It's that building block right in the middle that says what it is, what it's not, and then it can really ramp up and know where to look. I think as our time's coming to a close, if there's just something that I could leave with you guys today, we've covered a lot of bases. We've talked about a lot of stuff in just a little bit
Yes.
of time. But I really want to get across one thing is that you yes, AI is a tool. It
Hmm.
is not a human replacement. It cannot replace what the amazing work and the amazing expertise that you guys bring to the table. And that's just, it feels obvious. I hope it's obvious to you as well. But yes, we approach it with absolute caution. We, you know, curiously cautious. We're making sure we're double checking. We're talking with our leadership. We're creating the conversation. Um, but I never, ever, ever, ever want it to be that you don't approach uh, using AI tools like this because you don't think that you're capable. I have gone through and I've looked at, okay, what does it take to be successful using an AI agent? And they are all things. It's not ironic, but they're all different characteristics that make up PHOs. It's agility, it's quick to action, it's analyzing and listening, truly listening and observing. And so, as you guys walk together as a team, and you decide what is your policy and what's best for you guys, and you really get your hands dirty and you learn and just know that I have zero doubt in my mind your abilities moving forward. I think that I'm already excited for our next conversation because it's just the beginning of getting to have just really good conversations, some that you guys are already having. So, with that, I think that's a close for this segment. And I'm excited to see what happens next with Marketing Minute.